I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. Do you still have your gun?
Quick, go check.
Dems down at the state capitol scheming to expand Colorado's red flag law past its first contentious committee hearing on Tuesday evening. With a 3-2 vote along party lines, Colorado lawmakers advanced the first bill of the session that wrestles with the debate over gun violence prevention and the right to bear arms, Channel 7 reporting. The Senate State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee heard roughly 4 hours of emotional and at times furious testimony regarding Senate Bill 26004, which was introduced by Tom Sullivan, Democrat, District 27. He says, my son Alex and 11 others were murdered in the Aurora Theater massacre on July 20th, 2012. Sullivan's goal has been to ensure gun violence prevention as a priority at the state capitol. He sponsored a lot of these bills. It's kind of his thing down there. Senate Bill 26004 seeks to expand the group of people who can petition a court for an ERPO to include healthcare and education institutions. An ERPO is a kind of civil restraining order that is issued by a court and temporarily prevents a person from purchasing or possessing firearms. The individual would also have to surrender a concealed carry permit. The order is meant to be filed with an eligible party is meant to be filed when an eligible party believes that someone poses a significant risk to themselves or others and possesses a gun. Should we give this power to healthcare and educational institutions? Is this a violation of our Second Amendment rights? We're going to talk with State Senator Lynda Zamora Wilson here in just a second. Now is time for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good Thursday morning. 31 with some clouds in Denver, expecting a high of 45 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story: of former state senator will be sentenced next month after being found guilty of forgery and attempting to influence a public servant. A Denver jury found Sonia Jarquez Lewis guilty Wednesday. The charges were tied to several letters of support that Jarquez Lewis submitted to a state Senate ethics committee last year. She was under investigation for allegedly mistreating her aides, but resigned before the ethics panel issued a ruling. Border Czar Tom Homan says they're not backing down from their mission to round up criminal illegal aliens in the Twin Cities.
The President of the United States called me Monday morning and asked me to deploy here. Got here Monday evening, and I'm staying till the problem's gone.
Holman said he met with Tampon Tim and Mayor Jacob Fraud and called for cooperation with local law enforcement. He said because state officials are releasing illegal immigrants with criminal records, it's making the job of ICE agents more difficult and more dangerous.
Because of the hateful rhetoric and the attacks on ICE officers, now we got to send a security team behind the arrest team. So what could have been done with one person in a safety and security jail, now we got 15, 16 people out there doing it. I know that causes stress in the community.
Sorry, Tom. You're awesome. Central Casting. Colorado nurses and supporters are honoring VA nurse Alex Preddy, the man who was shot and killed in Many. Many gathered outside the Rocky Mountain Regional VA Medical Center in Aurora for a candlelight vigil on Wednesday.
Seeing a lot of people come together and acknowledge that change needs to be made, and having the same solidarity just gives a sense of community.
If there are some changes made, Alex's death will not be in vain.
Maybe one of the changes could be that the protesters are actually peaceful. There's an idea.
Well, Chris, it's a good first step. We do have a toxic culture currently in our district.
Molly Lamar, a parent in the Cherry Creek School District. The district is looking for a new superintendent. The district's Board of Education announced the resignation of Chris Smith Wednesday. He was forced to resign. His last day will be January 30th. Board members praised the achievements of Smith, though some current and former staff members previously accused Smith and his wife, who's an employee, of creating a toxic culture in the Cherry Creek School District.
So, and while this is a good first step, it's just the beginning. Chris has been the superintendent for 4 years. Our scores have gone down. We've lost a ton of really good teachers, veteran teachers, amazing associate superintendents. It's unfortunate, and it's not the Cherry Creek way.
The district's deputy superintendent will lead the school system until a new superintendent is chosen. 47 will hold his first cabinet meeting of 26 today at the White House. Always entertaining. A lot of talk, more than likely, will be about Minnesota and then to Iran, to affordability for Americans. Eli Manning snubbed by the Pro Football Hall of Fame voters for a second year in a row. He won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I guess that's not good enough. That's a pretty big deal. He'll be in there eventually. But Bill Belichick, he's only won 6 Super Bowls, 2 more as a coordinator, but voters don't think he's qualified, and also snubbed. What a joke. Yeah, that the Hall of Fame loses credibility when that happens. Sounds like Bo Nix not happy with Sean Payton talking about his ankle injury history.
A little bit more when they go in, and it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when.
Didn't have any predisposed issues. Man, my ankles were feeling really good.
He said he had one in high school, and then he said he had one at Auburn.
I don't think he really should share how many surgeries I've had in the past, to be honest with you, but because I don't, he doesn't really even know that.
Kind of interesting. Keep an eye on that one, the head coach and the quarterback. Avalanche and Ottawa last night. Ottawa wins it 5-2. Nets at the Nuggets tonight. Tip-off 7 o'clock downtown, 27 in Castle Pines. It's 30 in Erie, home of the Tigers. 31 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Bill. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy, mild. Temperatures reaching the low to mid-50s today. Cloudy tonight. Lows will be in the 20s. It'll be a touch cooler Thursday. There's a chance for a little bit of snow in the mountains tonight and tomorrow morning, but just cooler here along the Front Range with highs tomorrow 40s, 20s tomorrow night, 45 to 50 on Friday. The highs will be 50s for the weekend. Overnight lows in the 20s, and likely more of the same through Monday. The next chance of moisture will be Tuesday of next week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, the red flag laws expanding this unconstitutional attempt to take away your guns. We get to take away your guns, and then you get to come prove to us that you're not crazy, I guess. And they want to expand them. And it got contentious down there at the state capitol. Joining to give us some insight on this is Colorado State Senator Lynda Zamora Wilson. Good morning, Senator. Thank you for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, thanks so much for getting up with us.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Well, we're trying to keep our rights. It doesn't seem like the Democrats down at the state capitol care that much. Tell us what's happening with this red flag bill down there.
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. We are talking about Senator Sullivan's bill. This is concerning this is the SB 26004, and I'm looking for the exact title, too. It's concerning who may petition a court for an extreme risk protection order. And what this does is it just broadens the aperture of a list of petitioners to include K through 12 schools, higher education institutions, and healthcare facilities. And the bill increases the likelihood of lawfully owned firearm owners being their guns being confiscated.
Yeah, because let's go through K through 12 schools, for instance. You already can own a gun if you're, I don't know, in 6th grade. So the point being that now teachers of the kids, right? If the kid goes to school and is like, Daddy's having a hard time. He's a little depressed these days. By the way, Daddy owns a gun. Maybe that conversation comes up another time with the kid, whatever, and the teacher goes, okay, Daddy of this 6th grader owns a gun and is having a hard time. Now I'm going to have to interfere with this, call and make a extreme risk protection order, and this dad who doesn't even know anything all of a sudden has his guns taken away. Is that what could happen here?
That is correct. And the language is very broad, so it doesn't define these people, because I mentioned in committee this could be a janitor of the institution, and even though Senator Sullivan mentioned that is not possible, I'm looking at the verbiage. It's very broad. I don't see how it stipulates otherwise. And, I mean, this opens up the door for abuse. You could have disgruntled people, and especially if we're still going back to the teacher in this politically divided environment. Do you see a problem with this? If I'm the parent and I don't agree with transgender, or I'm a gun rights activist, I can see issues happening, and where teachers are not really qualified to act in the manner of mental health.
And as it was pointed out by RMGO, if counselors now can do this, well, are you really going to talk to your counselor that much? If you are a gun owner, are you going to go and be that honest with your counselor if there's a risk out there that they could get these extreme protection orders and you lose your Second Amendment rights? We're talking with State Senator Lynda Zamora Wilson. She was on the committee where this was heard, and I want to ask you about that because we've seen videos of circulating online that there were high emotions that day, including from veterans. Tell us about what the committee hearing was like.
So, and I just, if I could go back and piggyback on what you said, this could have a chilling effect on people that actually do need to seek, mental health, and they might be afraid that someone would be taking their guns. This actually happened in the military. As you know, I had served 25 years in the military, and when military members needed mental help, they tend to not seek it because they're afraid of their top secret clearances being taken away from them. So I could see it a parallel to that. This could happen. But getting back to your question, there was high emotions, as you can imagine, but we also had one particular individual that bursted out, again, he was concerned about his weapons being taken away from him and having a mental disability.
That's Lynda Zamora Wilson. She's a Colorado state senator. We're talking about the effort Democrats have launched to expand the red flag bills down at the state capitol. It seems to me, and you can correct me, but Tom Sullivan's not going to be happy until pretty much all guns are gone. Do you think that's their ultimate motivation here? That this is, I've always felt like the red flag bills were kind of a camel's nose under the tent, that they were going to just continue to expand and expand and expand, that once one person can deem you inefficient to be able to own a gun. And by the way, I don't want to go on a rant here, but these people that walk around chanting due process, due process, due process with regards to illegal immigration don't seem to care at all about that when it comes to your Second Amendment rights. They're going to start by taking away your guns, and now you have to go earn them back. That's what happens under red flag laws. Do you think the end goal here is just ending gun ownership?
I do. And they're infringing on our rights. And the Constitution is very clear that I have a right to bear arms. And I'm here to fight for it and fight our constitutional rights. I mean, this also undermines the Sixth Amendment. And as far as we should have a right to face our accusers, right? And what this bill does is you could have that teacher or that janitor hide behind the institution. They can make a claim, and me as the victim, I have no idea who my accuser is. And so it's the institution, a faceless institution, that is violating my right to bear arms.
And it just continues to march on. What are your anticipations with this bill? It passed the committee that you're a part of, knowing that Democrats have total control down at the state capitol. Do you anticipate this passing, and do you expect Governor Polis, the great libertarian governor he is, to sign it?
Well, they already passed the first part of this bill. I don't see why there's no other indications that would deem otherwise, right?
So that's through the committee, heading to the floor of the Senate, and then it'll go over to the House. So there will be opportunities for people to continue to speak into this if they want to message their senator, and this will be before a House committee, so you can go testify against this. So there are still opportunities to speak in, but I don't know. What's your read on the governor, Senator? Do you think he'll sign it?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm inclined to believe that he would pass this, but and there's things that we haven't even talked about, and as far as the economics, and we've only been talking about the how it violates the Constitution. I foresee that this is going to have some economic impacts. Now, Senator Sullivan mentions that there's no cost to this. However, when I was bringing up issues in committee about how this is going to increase false reporting, there was one of the folks that was testifying was serving as in a lawyer sense, and she had mentioned that the representation that the accused would get would be paid by the state. And of course, I was thinking, well, where's the state get the money? Of course, it's the taxpayers. The taxpayers are going to pay for these defenses. And not only do we have the monetary cost that's going to be on the taxpayer, but on the accused, you have non-monetary costs such that they're going to confiscate their guns. So they're left defenseless. You are going to have, the law firm will take time. So that's time is money. Money is time. You're also guilty until proven innocent. And here in America, I thought it was we're innocent until proven guilty. And then we have that this could take on months to prove your innocence. And we haven't even talked about, for the victim, gun storage costs, cost to renew, cost to some weapons you won't be able to get back due to SB 003 and transfer of arms. There's a whole slew of unknown costs that are going to incur. And this is going to hurt. Who do you think this is going to hurt most? Low-income people, fixed income, women and minority. They'll be stripped of their ability to defend themselves. Seriously, this is a Pandora's box, and it's fraught with unintended consequences and unknown costs.
That's State Senator Lynda Zamora Wilson talking about red flag bills that have been introduced down at the Colorado State Capitol, expansion of red flag bills, because we already have red flags, which is my next question. Did you hear testimony from innocent people that got pulled into this system, had to go fight to get their guns back? Were those stories shared during the testimony part of this?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. There was a couple individuals where their parents had owned gun shops, and they had mentioned some of these costs that I just already mentioned, the storage, the transfer fees, and they had expressed how costly they actually are. What was the other question that you mentioned? Sorry.
Now, what I want to ask you, Senator, is, now again, I understand I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but I want to ask about the idea of mental health, gun ownership, and red flag laws. Sometimes I think that when we're looking at red flag laws, we're concerned about the person that's the gun owner going out and possibly enacting violence somewhere else on someone else. But over half of all gun deaths in America are from suicide. And almost universally, when we have a mass shooting or something like that in public, it's about a mental health crisis. What I'm looking at is, while maybe imperfect, are the red flag laws at least a tool that could be used to help people in those mental health crisis moments that do need at least some sort of a break from access to their firearms? Again, going back to the fact that more than 50% of the gun deaths in America are self-inflicted suicides.
All right. And this is where we need to, I would say, more studies on mental health and training mental, maybe funding toward. Someone mentioned a better solution would be to bring forth more training on mental health. And as far as it's a tough one, right? Because when it comes down, you're actually going to impact innocent people from their Second Amendment right and other amendment rights.
Yeah, I can see that. And see, the problem I've got is I can see the mental health side. The issue I have with the red flag laws are exactly what you and Jeff had outlined earlier. The fact that the person that is the subject of the order does not have a chance to defend themselves. And if I was going to create what I'm trying to create is like a more perfect situation, it would be where this concern was raised about the person, and then you need to bring the gun owner in, and then you do have a talk, because I do think that there's an option where if someone is having some suicidal ideation, is having a mental health crisis, and has access to firearms, there could be inside of that meeting an opportunity to get them directly the mental health that they need at that time, that they may be too afraid, too angry, or just not seeking themselves. So I think there is a path forward. However, I also can see the argument that if, as a gun owner, you were called into one of these meetings, the first thing you're going to do is hide all your guns so that they can't come after, regardless of the outcome of the meeting, so they can't come in and take them regardless of dispensation of the ruling. So it is imperfect. I don't think it would solve the problem, but I do think that if this is an issue of mental health rather than external violence, getting a mechanism in there to get these people the mental health they need is a much better solution than just saying, well, if they don't have their guns for a little while, everything will work its way out. I don't think it solves the problem. That's kind of the argument that I've got against some of the people that are pushing for the red flag laws.
Right. And what, as you were saying that, I would hope it'd be more of, or all, of a volunteer effort. So if I'm having issues, I go and seek help. They encourage me to store my weapon. Maybe there's a mechanism where I can store it with them. They have the capability, they have the training, and it's not where someone else is taking away from them. They can take the guidance from the mental health providers and have that that safety. So it also protects those victims where the weapons are being forcefully taken away from them. Does that make sense, what I said?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's the problem is, I dislike the idea of getting some of the educators involved. However, with the elementary school kids, I can see, it's not going to happen a lot, but I can see an instance where the child is upset that one of the parents is having a crisis, and maybe, mom, dad, whoever was toying with the gun or playing with it or was cleaning it, and they heard something be said by one of the parents about, and there could be some concern. I've heard stories of a lot of elementary kids coming with individual concerns about mom or dad and sharing them with teachers because they're trusted adults. But, it bothers me getting the elementary teachers involved in that Second Amendment relationship, and especially with the parents, based on information from the kids, especially when the parent doesn't have the opportunity to come in this setting. Because I've also heard many stories of things that the kids have told that didn't cover the entire story, or they were missing an important piece of the story that led people to the wrong conclusion.
Oh yeah, and sorry if I misunderstood your original question. When it comes to the broadening of the language and including teachers, and my goodness, yeah, that's unacceptable for me. You're hearing it from a third party, and they're not even qualified in mental health. To me, it's absolutely absurd. I can't even imagine what this is going to look like.
Well, we have text messages coming in. Here's one from Mary from Wyoming. I had a coworker whose ex was Navy SEAL, married a woman. They had she had two teenage children of her own. The teenage daughter was always a handful, reported to the teacher that he had touched her. Arrested, court, the whole shebang. They separated. Costs all associated to it, and the girl in court came out that she had lied. Nothing ever happened to the daughter. They had to go through all of this. And to your point, Bill, there's definitely times where the kids just don't understand everything that's happening. I can imagine dad coming in and going, "We're not going to make it as a family. The finances are too hard." And then kid goes to school and is like, "Daddy was angry today, and Daddy owns guns too." And now the teacher's like, "All right, now we got to bring this whole thing up," and all that stuff. And all he was doing was just venting at home that the kids spend too much money, that type of thing.
And part of the problem in that scenario could be, let's say that it goes the other direction and dad does become violent, and you find out that someone at the school may have had an indication beforehand. Now there are going to be questions.
Yeah, right. Liability issues too. But at the same time, I understand, all right, someone's suicidal. How do you get the guns out of their hands so that they can, if I had a family member that was suicidal, I'd just walk in, take the guns away. I'm like, this is too dangerous right now. Is there a role for government in that situation? I don't know. I'll give you the final word, State Senator Lynda Zamora Wilson.
Is it the role of the government? No, we are supposed to be protecting our rights and our liberties. I would like to see our community wrapping around these people and becoming more involved. It's up to the community. It's not the role of the government. We're trying to prevent the government from infringing on our rights, and that's what they're doing.
That's State Senator Lynda Zamora Wilson down at the Colorado State Capitol fighting to protect your Second Amendment rights and your Sixth Amendment rights, by the way. We appreciate your time today, Senator. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you much. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, gentlemen.
All right, we'll continue. Would love to hear from you about this. Are red flag laws important to safety? You have people with mental health issues, the ability to buy a gun. They can harm others. They can harm themselves. There is a role for the state to step in and go, we need to get those guns out of your hands. Or is this a violation of Second Amendment rights? And the point of the government all along is to secure your rights, your God-given rights. One of those is to defend yourself against threats, to defend society against tyranny. And it's not the government's role to step in. What if Trump out there said, anybody protesting my ICE actions has mental health problems? We need to make sure we confiscate all their guns. Would you progressives like that? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's talk Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law, the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Debates down at the state capitol. Debates on the Jeff and Bill Show. Debate is what we do. Join the conversation at 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115. Bill, I do find it interesting because we're talking about the red flag bills down at the Colorado State Capitol and their effort to expand them. But the whole Second Amendment debate got a little interesting this week around the shooting of Alex Peretti down at the state capitol, where I saw progressives go, I understand why conservatives make the argument about having a well-armed citizenry against tyranny. Not saying that there's what Trump's doing is tyranny. I don't agree with that assessment at all. I think what Trump's doing is implementing and enforcing a duly passed law. But it was interesting to see progressives, from my perspective, go, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Your thoughts, sir?
This is the thing, is I think it's been very interesting as to how we have looked at what our Second Amendment rights are, depending on how we are also viewing our politics. Because, as we talked about earlier in the week, FBI Director Kash Patel said, you absolutely don't have a right to bring a loaded firearm into a protest. Well, Dudley Brown, founder of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, said that's absolutely incorrect. In fact, he was quoted recently in an interview, I believe, with Channel 7, where he said that not only does he recommend that someone always carry at a protest, he thinks it makes them a safer protester. So again, I think that's an interesting statement, given all the other statements that have been made about someone that showed up at a protest recently that was unalived after they brought their firearm.
Do you appreciate kind of the consistency of RMGO and the NRA pushing back on the Trump administration?
I appreciate it, and will honestly admit here on the Jeff and Bill Show at 8:38 in the morning, I was pleasantly surprised. I did not expect them to have that level of intellectual honesty and consistency. I figured they were going to defend it, but say, well, but in certain cases it shouldn't. But no, it was a flat no. Even though they don't agree, I believe, with any of the politics of Alex Peretti, they do defend his right to carry, which is exactly the point of both the Second Amendment and the First and some of the others. The idea that they defend the rights of those you disagree with, as well as the rights of those that you agree with. And I think the red flag is a really, really interesting filter on how both sides are viewing their Second Amendment rights. Because you're exactly right, Jeff, that those people that would think that not only do we need more red flag laws, we need to expand it a lot more and have a lot more rules and restrictions around gun ownership, are those that are saying that Peretti had done nothing wrong and was absolutely within his rights when he showed up at the protest recently in Minneapolis. And people on the other side are now saying, well, it was interesting. I think, who was it? Oh, it was Jon Stewart on The Daily Show. I saw a little clip on social media where he sat there and went, wait, well, we're now hearing that Peretti shouldn't have brought a firearm to the protest. He's like, are you telling me it's the gun that's the problem? That it's the actual instrument is the thing that put him in danger? Not the individual, not the actions, but it was the gun that was the problem.
Well, I heard the exact opposite with regards to the ICE agent that shot.
Yeah.
Or the Border Patrol agent,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, I thought it was always the gun that was the problem, not the person that was.
Not the person who was
not the person that was firing it. Like, so I went to Reddit after all the stuff that was happening on Saturday, right? And I found this interesting. This was Denver libs on Reddit after the shooting of Alex Peretti going, buy guns. And someone saying, I have been since 2016. You need to train. And then someone else wrote, I've never wanted to own a gun, but I'm getting a Glock or AR ASAP.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
And then the conservatives, when I screenshot and put that, because they don't let me comment on Reddit anymore. They always block me. They're like, oh, Jeff, I'd block them. It was great free speech libs out there. I posted this on, I screenshot it and posted it on X, and everyone's like, enjoy your 3-day waiting period. Enjoy your fees.
Yeah.
Enjoy having to go through a class now to be able to get your gun. So do you understand? Do you get what we were trying to say all along? So it is interesting on both sides of that.
Your first name?
All right, let's talk modern rugged leather. From city streets to mountain trails, your gear should go wherever life takes you. That's why at Modern Rugged Leather, every bag is handcrafted from premium, responsibly sourced leather. Designed to look sharp, last long, and tell a story of its own. Each stitch, buckle, and strap reflects timeless craftsmanship and is backed by a lifetime warranty because quality shouldn't quit when the adventure begins. So whether it's the boardroom or the back roads, Modern Rugged Leather helps you carry confidence every step of the way. Modern Rugged Leather, modern style, timeless durability, backed for life. Guys, here's mine right here. It is my go-to bag every single day. It is the most beautiful leather bag I have ever owned. I'm kind of a cheap guy generally in life. I buy affordable stuff, and when we partnered up with Modern Rugged Leather and we were able to get these, I almost feel like, Bill, I'm carrying around like a Kim Kardashian like purse, those Louis Vuitton.
That
type
thing
stuff.
is stylish.
It is so nice. I almost don't feel worthy of it, but it's totally affordable, and the quality is so good. So shop the full collection. Find yours today at modernrugged.com. Modernrugged.com. Again, modernrugged.com. All right, we'll get to your phone calls and texts. We are talking the red flag bill expansion down at the Colorado State Capitol, as well as libs finally discovering the Second Amendment's defense against tyranny. Well, on Reddit, they're all running out to buy guns. There's just not any gun stores left except for the gun room, and to be able to do that because the libs ran them out of town. We'll cover all these issues and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Libs arming up after the killing of Alex Paredes. Time to buy guns, they write on Reddit. Never wanted to own a gun, writes Meth Fist Ho.
That's a great username. Good job there. You understand everybody else has to see this, right? It's just like the kids, and you run across this, because I play video games online, and you obviously run across people that made their video game tag when they were like 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, Captain farts a lot. Yeah, you're like, thanks, this is great. Hope we get through this mission, Captain.
They write, I never wanted to own a gun, but I'm getting a Glock and an AR ASAP. Is it good that libs have finally understood what conservatives have said all along, that the Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting?
I hope it gives us some sort of common understanding, at least. I tend to really be disappointed if the debates go back to the old thing that we were just yelling at each other about. I hope this is at least some sort of common understanding. But
text messages hot. Joe in Arvada, when your armed protester comes to a protest and fights with police, don't be surprised when the armed protester gets blown out of his socks. Boom, Joe in Arvada writes.
Yeah, there are a number of other protests we could bring up in which, but okay, it wouldn't be as convenient about advocating people need to get blown out of their socks.
3674, Lee Keltner was murdered for pepper spray, and the shooter's out free. The sport coat boy. Where's the outrage?
The thing with Keltner still ticks me off. And the thing is that, and I have to be honest here. Okay, I'm going to be 100 here on the Jeff and Bill Show. When that first happened, I did place a good deal of blame on Keltner and his actions prior to, but I spent some time with it after my first initial reaction, going back and talking to people and listening and watching the reaction, and it really came down to the actions of that alleged security guard. And I say alleged only because wasn't licensed, wasn't trained properly, nothing. Should not have been there, should not have been in that situation. And the security guard absolutely immediately escalated a non-deadly situation and took the wrong actions, and in my opinion, murdered Lee Keltner on the city streets of Denver and does not face charges for it, and that's wrong.
9722 texting in, I have a neighbor that chased my dog with a knife. Police said he was mentally ill and then took his knife. That's it. Another neighbor, great guy, dated a crazy lady for 3 months, and when he tried to end it, she made claims he was angry. He got his antique gun collection taken away. A whole neighborhood knows. One guy is crazy, the other guy not crazy. One person got his guns taken away, and a crazy guy got a new knife. Well, there you go. All right, we'll get to Mike here in just a second. Let's talk Colorado Christian University. Faith, family, and freedom. These values define the American tradition and are increasingly under attack. The Centennial Institute at Colorado Christian University is dedicated to remaining a committed voice for Christian conservative principles. Through their public events, publications, and student initiatives, they're committed to delivering world-class programming that empowers citizens of all ages to stand boldly for conservative values and engage with pressing issues of the day with grace and truth. They need to promote principled conservatism and train the next generation of conservative leaders to speak with moral clarity and conviction is more urgent than ever. Join the Centennial Institute at Colorado Christian University in their work to recommit the culture to faith, family, freedom, and future. Learn more at centennial.ccu.edu. That's centennial.ccu.edu. All right, let's go to Mike in Reetwood. Mike, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, good morning.
Well, as a retired Denver police officer for 30 years, I have two things to say. Number one, you do have the right under the Second Amendment to carry a gun, but it is your responsibility, all right, if you're carrying a concealed weapon, to, number one, have identification and your permit on your person. Okay, he had neither. Number two, having worked many protests, okay, you don't carry a weapon to a protest. But number two, this guy wasn't a protester. He was an agitator. He went down there with the specific point, of agitating and interfering with ICE. And let's get down to these two shootings, okay? The problem with all of this anti-Trump, anti-ICE thing, and it's more anti-Trump, is in my career, we worked with ICE. We didn't have this circus. And I worked under Obama as well during my career. And we held detainees for ICE in the jail, okay, because these people are adjudicated. Everybody's saying that these are people that are just grabbed at random. No, these people have been through the process. They're going out and they're getting them that have been adjudicated and they're declared to be deported. All right. And they're held in the jail, and then ICE comes and gets them and they release to ICE custody. But as seen recently here in Denver, to where, basically they're let out the door of the jail and ICE has to chase them down the street. I mean, if you want to eliminate this process, just hold them in the jail. We transfer them as we did. That's called cooperation with federal authorities. And then you don't have any of this. They're not in the neighborhoods. They're not whatever. But these people, this lady that got shot, and this guy who's an ICU nurse, or whatever he is, they're out there actively interfering with ICE.
Help me understand, Mike. Help me understand. Where is the actions that Peretti took that actively interfered with ICE performing their duties? Where did we see that?
Well, now ICE is out there. I mean, what did Peretti do? I mean, what
That's
caused
my question.
his death? Okay, what was he doing down there? I mean,
Mike, hold on. With respect, Mike, because we're running out of time, I'm going to stop you there. We can't sit there and say, well, maybe what are the intents, etc. We have to judge the situation based on his actions, because the ICE officers have no indication. They don't have the ability to read his mind. Look at what he did in the past or anything else. They have to judge the incident.
What was he doing down there, Billy? What was his interaction with ICE to begin with?
What was he doing? What we've seen is that there are a couple of instances in which he yelled some things at ICE. We have him in the center of the street directing traffic. And then when ICE pushes two protesters that did come over and yell at ICE, didn't get kinetic with them, but yelled at them, they pushed two protesters away. He said, hey, don't push them. They pushed one of the protesters again. They went to the ground. He went over, and it can be heard on video saying, are you okay? At that instance, he has his back to law enforcement. They grab him from behind, immediately spray him in the face. Then you have 5 or 6 more people show up. They push him to the ground and start hitting him. And then after they remove his firearm, they shoot him. So where in that interaction is he a deadly threat? Because that was the argument in the first shooting, that Renee had turned her car towards
Billy,
them.
All right. So, Billy, so what you do in that instance, you bring an outside force in, which is the FBI in this case, and you charge him with Peretti. You charge those two guys, and you indict them. But this is a bigger picture, Billy, because what you're doing is you're making ICE out to be the bad guy. These two guys, made a mistake, and they can be charged criminally. Okay, fine. They made a mistake, and they overreacted. But this is bigger, Billy, because you know what? ICE is the good guys.
Mike,
but they're already being out to be the bad guy.
I would submit,
so Billy,
Mike.
You
I would
can
submit,
argue,
Mike,
that ICE is the bad guy.
I think Peretti's family may have a different opinion. People that were there on the street that day may have a different
they
opinion.
Will. Every guy that gets shot by the police has a different opinion,
and
Billy. In my 30 years of law enforcement, everyone that was shot by the police is a good guy. They are a wonderful guy.
But Mike,
they were a Christian.
I understand, and unfortunately we have to run, but also look at the interaction. How many people that were shot were on their hands and knees after being hit, didn't touch their weapon, and after the weapon was removed, were shot? That's the issue. That's the core when we talk about good guys and bad guys. That's the image and the impression, and that's the problem.
Mike, I appreciate your service.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for the call. That's Mike from Wheat Ridge. The debate will continue. Stephen Tubbs, DEA, joining us live in studio next. He's got a little event coming up you might want to be a part of. This is going to be a lot of fun to hang out with him. You are listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk station. This